Today I'm going to be ranking the skill decks in Payday 3 in a tiers list, and I'm doing this improvised. I've not planned or written notes on like each deck's advantages and disadvantages. And also to be upfront, some of these I've simply not used often or at all, and there's going to be a tier dedicated to those. So the ones I do rank, I have extensively played with. And with that out of the way, let's hop into the list here. As you can see, I have everything listed and I'll be going left to right, giving a bit of reasoning, I guess, for each decision, but probably not too much because this is just a gut feeling again. I've not planned any of this out. I just thought it would be fun to do. Okay, and starting out with a really good one, we have Fortitude. I'm not really going to be going in any particular order. I just have them listed here sort of randomly. But Fortitude is probably already our first, maybe cream of the crop. It's probably S tier. Yeah, it's S tier. I didn't have to think about it too long. Personally, Fortitude is what kept me playing for basically months. I would say from around February. I think that's when it was around when it was added to like maybe June. Fortitude, adaptive armor. You combine that with like a medic build because I really love playing medic in Payday. I dating back to Payday 2, I don't really like playing like a tank armor, impenetrable armor build. That's just it's so uninspired. And that medic like support system, it works really well for me, especially with my playstyle. I play very aggressively, but still I guess cautious at the same time. So I don't use a lot of resources, and I let my teammates sort of gain up the resources, and it just works for my playstyle. So Fortitude being added into the game with the adrenaline is so fun playing with the adrenaline buffs. You could get rid of everything else, like just the benefits or whatever you get for adrenaline and just having that over HP. It's just so rewarding. It's such fun gameplay. So it's a bit easy. Obviously, like they need to tune it down because Fortitude, in my eyes, is probably one of the stronger skill lines in the game. But I still really love it. So yeah, that's the first one out of the way. Next we have Assassin. Um, I don't think I've used Assassin. So fair warning, I most likely am not going to be ranking any skill decks for stealth, like ones that primarily is used in stealth. Like I don't know, Scrambler. Yeah, I'll go ahead and put Scrambler in there as well. Strategist, I think I can still rank. Yeah, I think I can put Strategist. But yeah, most of the stealth skill decks I've not used because I don't really like stealth in this game. I know that doesn't really make any sense compared to Payday 2, but I prefer Payday 2's stealth system. Even though it's less refined, to me it just has a little more, I guess, character to it. Like Payday 3 is definitely very like thorough in its stealth systems and mechanics, but to me it's very cookie cutter and like by the book. So I would just, if I wanted a stealth experience that matches Payday 3, I would go play a stealth game, right? So yeah, I'm not going to be really ranking any of the stealth ones. Some of them I have played with, like back in whenever the progression system was actually awful, I would play 30 Eyes and just play it on repeat on Overkill. And I had a really good build down. And then I would try what's that other one? Under the Surface. I tried that in stealth a bunch of times because it's really fun to stealth that one as well. And I had a good build for that heist as well. But generally speaking, I don't really use stealth in this game, so I can't really give an accurate opinion on it. So most of them are just going to be in the haven't used slash tried category. But strategies I can't actually rate, and I would rate this. It depends. It's definitely A tier if you know how to use it, but I don't think it's like, I don't know. I feel like A tier should be reserved for ones that are just like undeniably good. I'm gonna put it in B, buck dependent. Honestly, I shouldn't have put these names because it kind of skewers what I'm thinking, but it's basically a B tier skill deck. For like the marking guards and like the buffs you get for marking guards. It's cool. Like the idea behind its skill deck is cool, but it's not the most practical. It it doesn't really cater to one side or the other. Like it sort of caters towards stealth, but you can use it either way. But Yeah, I think it's perfectly average. It's perfectly normal, so it sits at B. So close quarter specialist is up next, and I'm going to put this. Hmm, I want to say, no, I'm going to put it in haven't used slash tried. I have a little bit, but not enough to really tell you like what its pros and cons are. Like, sure, it does like certain things with like civs. I think that's the skill line where you, if you utilize your civilians, then you get really cool like buffs and like law enforcement and stuff like that. So there's a couple of things in there that I think could be useful for some players, but me personally, I'm just like I'm good because I play really aggressively, so that just doesn't suit my playstyle. Transporter definitely suits my playstyle, which is up next, and that's going in the all builds essentials. The unfortunate thing about Transporter is that there's other really, really good skills that sure like they're just as good as Transporter, but their like ability to be used comes up more in Heist than Transporter does, whereas Transporter is allocated towards the later end of the heist, for like, bags and things like that. So the first 80% of the heist, you basically just have this skill line that pretty much does nothing. Excuse me. But it's still really good to like have at least a couple of the skills. If you wanna like, especially if you're playing solo, you wanna move bags around quickly. You wanna carry multiple bags, things like that. Throw bags further. You you're gonna want to spec into this, but for me, generally, I say it's not anything that's like mandatory. Like there's no skills in this skill line. Just like you have to have. So, even though they're really cool, I would still say that they're not like cream of the crop. So they're just gonna be set in A all build essentials. Next up, we have Tactician. This is personally, right? This is a personal list. Keep that in mind. That is S. 100% S. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. This is the best tier, or not the best tier. This is the best skill deck in the game, and that is solely because I love playing around flashbangs in this game. I love playing around the utility of the, just like your lethals. I really love playing around them, and it's gonna like whenever I put up demolitionist in this list, I'm probably gonna be in all build essentials. I'm just gonna tell you that right now because I really love the combination between those two, and you know, what kind of utilization you can get out of it for your builds. It's just like the buffs you get from this is so useful, and like especially in higher difficulty. You know, I guess maybe heist, like maybe golden shark. you know you can bunch up enemies and throw a flashbang, and now they have no shield essentially. I forget which one it was, but now they basically have no armor, or it stuns them 30% longer or whatever it is. And the other really cool ones, it's just, to me, it's S tier. I really like this. It's the reason I use flashbangs so often, and yeah, so it's going to S tier. Next is Hacker. Hacker, I've actually used, I know it's a stealth skill line, but I've actually used quite a bit of Hacker. So I'm going to put Hacker, I'm going to put it in buff dependent, so around B. I would say Hacker is really good for stealth, but I would say it's not essential to go for, it's not essential to have it in stealth. Like, I think the next one up, Grifter, is way, way more useful for stealth. You can get by without having too many of the skills from Hacker. Of course, working around the cameras and things like that, it's going to be a little more of a nuisance. But I would say generally it's doable. If you want to allot those skills to other things, you definitely can, because as long as you understand like your map knowledge is very well, regardless, your map knowledge is going to be well if you have Hacker or not. So yeah, I think it's perfectly serviceable for stealth. I've played a lot with it at the beginning of the game, so I would know. But yeah, it's not like great, but it's not bad. So yeah, it's just gonna sit in B. And like I said, Grifter is up next. That's gonna go in all build essentials. This is the essentials for stealth. This is mandatory. If you want to play stealth right in this game, you're going to need quite a few skills in Grifter, at least to me. Again, someone if you're watching this and you're like that doesn't make any sense. This is just like my anecdotal like experience. This is what I experienced through the game in its early stages. You know, with modifiers and things like that coming in for stealth and loud, it may be different now, but I'm just going off of what I know. And I would say Grifter is probably the best stealth, or at least the one that I've tried, the best stealth skill line in the game. Scrambler, who knows? It may be, in my opinion, Scrambler is probably ass anyways. Like I haven't tried it, so it's gonna go into haven't tried, but I think it's probably ass, and I think that's the best one. Okay, and next up is Manipulator. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the haven't tried. I think. This one just isn't that useful. I think this is actually the one. It's not close quarters specialist. This is close quarters combat specialist. This one is the one where you use tab civs and I think law enforcement, but it's just not that good. Like even as in terms of like B tier skills or leftover skills, it's just not that good. You have a lot of options in the game, and I guess for some people's playstyle it might work. I like how they like to go about playing the map. Like they want to do loud but stealth at the same time, sort of. And then next up we have Engineer. I'm probably going to put Engineer in edge case scenarios. Here's the thing with Engineer. If you like that kind of playstyle, like playing around sentry guns, this is absolutely perfect for you, obviously. Even in Payday 2, I didn't try sentry guns all that much. It doesn't suit my playstyle. Like sitting, like hunkering down in a single spot, that was useful, I guess, sort of like as a playstyle or like as a way to play certain maps in like certain places, but it just isn't for me. So, I would say even though I have limited experience with it, it's not as good in this game as it was back then. Back then it was, even though the sentries could be destroyed, it was still kind of busted if you had a fully kitted out engineer class. And I would just remember having like 3 teammates use it. So yeah, I think it's still edge case scenario. I don't think it's that good, so I put it around C. Okay, and next we have Gunslinger. I have no qualms about this. I think this is basically useless. For me, Gunslinger, it has like 1 or 2 kind of okay perks or skills. I mean, like you swap weapons and you get, I don't know if it is it edge or grit. It's not that good. Like just overall the entire skill line is not that good. I'm not sure what's the point of this skill line. Like there's so many other ways you can gain edge and grit, than just swapping weapons. I mean, sure there's other ones. I forget because I used a couple of them. Like I used like 3 skills in this like skill deck, but like I can't remember them because it was just like a way to fill out my build. When they up the amount of skills you could have, like from 21 to 28, I would just like throw on a couple of them because I had nothing else to spend it on. So yeah, these are basically useless in any other scenario. Now that we have Fortitude and just everything else that's in the game, it doesn't even have to be Fortitude. Just pick anything else, please. Okay, and as we keep going, now we have Enforcer. Enforcer is another interesting one. I think it probably sits around, I want to say all build essentials, but it's not quite that good. Here's the thing. The shotguns is the main problem with Enforcer. The skill line itself is actually really good. Like like what you can do with Enforcer if you have good shotguns, like the added BP12 and the SPAS 12 is, incredible. But, like the first 6 months of the game, when we only had the Mascani 12 Classic and the other pump action dog shit shotgun, it was basically useless. Like, I can't remember the name of it, but it had like 8 shots. That other pump action shotgun, you could be point blank range, hit someone with like 3 or 4. It could be like a regular SWAT enemy, hit them with 4 shots to take them down. And like, if you're not hitting headshots, it was basically useless. And like, you had to be kissing the enemy. To me, it's not so much a detriment to the skill deck itself, more so that, before we had these most recent updates, it was basically useless in what, weapons it was tied to. So I think I'll put it in all build essentials or buff dependent. It just depends on how you really like to play with shotguns. If you're someone who loves, up close and personal with the shotguns and you like to play gung ho, this is perfect for you, and this is going to be all build essentials, obviously. But if you someone who likes to dabble back and forth, then it may be buff dependent. But overall, I would say it's either way. It's not like an S tier, like it will never be S tier, but it sits somewhere around A to B. Okay, next we have Demolitionist. This is definitely an all build essentials. I think Demolitionist is just so fun to play with. It's the same thing as Tactician. It's just slightly less preferred for my playstyle, I guess, because of the potential to damage yourself. Maybe, still it can be utilized in any deck. This special skill just to get 2 extra throw capacity is incredible. You have 5 flashes or 5 grenades. It's just so useful. It honestly dumbs down the experience a little bit, but if you're someone who doesn't really mind that, you just want to have a lot of fun, just throwing just tons of flashbangs and grenades. And then you could also combine that with like the grenades explode on impact, and the other, I forget what the perk is called, but or the skill, if you have edge or grit and explosion would harm you, it consumes that instead. So you could do some really cool stuff with it. So yeah, I think it's perfectly well suited to pretty much all builds. You can find 2 or 3 skills out of this, if you're going for loud, and it'll be perfectly fine. Okay, now we're on to Escapist. Escapist is I want to see how harsh I want to be here, because it's definitely not one of my favorites. I think it's in pretty useless. Yeah, I'm gonna just put it in pretty useless. The thing with Escapist is that you have to do all these like combo, like X, Y, up, down, left, B, A, combinations just to get like extra movement. I think, like, other than it's, like you masked up, it's skill to get masked up and 10% increased speed. That's about all it has to offer. Its base skills are just trash. They're just straight up trash. Don't pick this skill line under any circumstances, just like Gunslinger. I think these are the 2 worst skill lines in the game by far. Okay, and now it looks like we're gonna have about 6 left. But next up is Infiltrator. This one is another one of those confusing ones. Not because I don't understand its skill deck, but I don't know. I think I might put it in edge case scenarios. It's still good. It's just, again, there's a lot of skills in this game where it's like you can just live without it. Like, if you're someone who's going to play the game vanilla, you don't need these skills. Like, they're not must-haves. They'll definitely help, especially with, in the case of Infiltrator, it'll definitely help with your stealth. It'll definitely help it go a lot quicker. A lot of its skills is definitely geared towards basically perfecting stealth, but to me, it's just, it's not going to really do a whole lot for you if you already understand how to play each heist and stealth. It's just sort of there as a buffer, which I guess all skills should be anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it in edge case scenarios. So now we have Tank, and this one's pretty obvious. It's in all build essentials. If you would have asked me like at launch, this would have been S++, because that's the only thing people ran was their ballistic vest and tank builds. But right now it sort of has like evened out. It's still really good. You should still at least put like 3 or 4 skills in it, like ace it on the first skill and then find 2 or 3 others you want to use. It's just really good for every loud build. There's no reason not to use it. It doesn't matter if you have a medic build or like adrenaline build or even an ammo build. Just use this skill deck and it's going to serve you well. Okay, now we have Sharpshooter. Now Sharpshooter is probably, I would say, it will sit somewhere in between like B and A for most situations, but it's probably buff dependent, just depending on how you like to play the game. It's kind of like the same as Enforcer with how it benefits shotguns. Sharpshooter benefits snipers so well, obviously. Like hide, zoom, scopes, and just picking enemies off at a distance. It's so lethal and powerful playing that way. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do with it with the maps in this game, as their sizes and their layouts don't really favor sniper play, which is kind of unfortunate because I like long like the long maps of Payday 2 or like the wide open spaces that they have, but still you can find a pretty good use out of it. Line up those headshots on jugs, really good. Just like penetration with regular SWAT enemies, really good. It's just all around. It's decent and it's really good. And you know, unfortunately, there's only one sniper. I would say the marksman rifle. You can use it to pretty decent success if you're using the marksman rifle, the SA-144, I think it's called. I can't remember, but still, I hope they add more one shot weapons in the future because I love one shot weapons. I hope they're not ass one shot weapons. The first half of the game was horrible playing. You would just run just an AR SMG, but now there's more variety, and I would say Sharpshooter is a good skill line to have if they add more weapons on the future. Next up, we have Mower. Mower is, ooh, I don't want to put too much in S tier or cream of the crop, but I think Mower probably belongs there. Yeah, I think Mower. I'm gonna do Mower and Medic back to back because are those are the four right here. The Fortitude, Tactician, Mower, and Medic to me are the four best skill decks in the game. So I'm gonna get into Mower first. Mower is just like I said before, get buffs by playing the game, right? Who doesn't like that? Just get added buffs by playing the game, and it's very useful for anyone who doesn't want to consciously think about where to put their skills and what's going to help them and what's going to not. If you're playing loud, it's going to help you regardless. So I just think of the ease of access for most players, and I think that this is just so good that there's no way it can't be at least A. And I think it's perfectly balanced as well. I know that sounds weird to say considering that I put it in S, but I think that you know it has a little something for everyone. Like regardless of your playstyle or regardless of what you're using, you can go into Mower and find at least I would say two skills that you're like, okay, I really want that in my build and I really want that in my build. So very versatile, extremely good, extremely easy to use. It's just all around one of the best in the game. And then Medic, like I said, I just really like Medic. Honestly, if this was even like launch, like the Medic at launch, I would still put it in A just because of my bias alone. Even though Medic wasn't good, right? I just really like playing Medic. Like they've made a lot of good changes, and they've added things like Fortitude that further help. Like the buffs or I guess the how you can utilize Medic. But even standing on its own, I think Medic is still a very viable option. It kind of takes me back to that Payday 2 vibes of like inspiration, and it sort of like combines it with the Payday 3 gameplay, and it's just super rewarding to use. Like the revive system. I really love just like reviving people. I honestly just like sometimes want people to go down just because reviving is so fun. And you get the buffs on top of that, like immunity if you as long as you have these buffs while reviving people. And yeah, it's one of my personal favorites, and I also think it's really good in this game. So yeah, Medic goes in the crop. And then last but not least, we have Ammo Specialist. Ammo Specialist is probably one of the weirder ones in the game because I've used quite a bit of it and I've tried to make ammo builds viable, but I just don't see it outbeating everything else. I'm not sure if like the ammo pickup rate is too high, but I just don't feel like there's enough, I guess, reasons or utility to bring like an ammo bag first and foremost, and then also the things you might get from that. Like I think there's a skill where if you place on an ammo bag, you get like armor penetration or something like that, and it's like cool bonus, right? But it's no better than I guess it's any of the other like smaller skills in the game that don't really change the gameplay too much. It doesn't make you feel like like a god basically. And some of the other skill lines definitely do that. Like Tank, obviously, is Tank. Even today, even with some of its like tweaks, you still feel like a god when you use like a tank build. And even I would say like Fortitude, definitely when you use Fortitude and Medic, you know, sometimes when you have all those buffs activated, like all three buffs, and you're just like running and gunning, you feel like a god, you feel untouchable, even on overkill difficulty, which is probably one of the biggest problems with this game. But still, you know, I think medic, I don't know why I said medic. I think ammo specialist still probably sits around, I would say buff dependent, around B. It's not like horrible. It's not in like the bad tier, or it's like close to the edge of being pretty useless. It's just, you know, it's sort of middle of the road, right? You can never go wrong with taking a skill or two from this skill deck, but you're never gonna build a deck, or you're never gonna have a build built around this deck, and you know, so it's just, you know, good, but it's not great. So it's gonna sit in B. Okay, and there you have it. There is my Payday 3 skill decks tiers ranking. I have 4 in cream of the crop or S tier, 4 in A. I have 5 in B, 2 in C, 2 in basically useless, and then some of the other like niche ones, I guess, that I just haven't tried. I think this is overall a pretty good list. You know, there's gonna be, if anyone's still watching this late into the video, first off, thank you. But also, you're probably gonna disagree with a lot of things I've said, because this is just my experience. I play in a different style than a lot of players, at least to me, that's what I think. Like, I think a lot of players like to play, you know, maybe if they're playing with a party of 4, they like to play as a party of 4. I like to play basically like, I'm like a solo player, but I like to help out the team, but I also like to get objectives done quickly. And, you know, I kind of like to do like have a spot to do everything on the map, sort of like, you know, to like support my team, but also to, you know, just get things done my way. So, you know, obviously like medic and fortitude, that just makes sense. Mower, transporter, you know, just really good skills that I really like to use. But I feel like for people, they're gonna have certain things higher or lower, just depending on, you know, what they favor. But yeah, if you have like if you've done a tier list, or if you have any thoughts on something I did wrong or something that you would have changed instead, go ahead and leave that in the comments, because I'm interested to see what you guys think and where you would have put certain things. Also, if anyone's used any of these down here and that haven't used / tried, let me know what you think about them. I'm pretty sure they're not that great. Like, I mean, I haven't used them, right? So I can't fully judge it, but things like close quarter specialist, like, I don't hear anyone talking about that. Is that really doing anything, right? Like, let's be real. You know, I don't expect every skill deck in the game to be like S tier or amazing. But, you know, to like things like a gunslinger and escapist that are basically useless, I also don't want to see things like that. And I think overall they've done a good job of balancing the skills out so that nothing's like super powerful. Although the ones in S tier, they definitely need some tweaking. I would say even tactician, even though people are gonna disagree with me on this, but I don't know, like the stun / tack, or like lethal utilization is just overpowered in my opinion in this game if you know how to use it, and it makes just most waves, like most assault waves, just like child's play. So, but anyways, I'm doing a whole lot of rambling. I've done rambling for I don't know how long this video is gonna be. It's probably gonna be about 30 minutes or so. But either way, I had a lot of fun doing it. Let me know if you guys have any other like tiers ranking for Payday 3 you want me to do. But yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna stop rambling, and I'll see you guys next time.